October 25th, 1910. Dear Mother Mary, today I taught the children the history of the word baton as a short, stout staff to carry or to clobber them over the head with, as they would not sit still. Thomas raised his hand and announced, before I even gave him permission, that it is used in relay races, and asked, "Hey, can we go outside, Miss Kurtz?" I set down my list of spelling words and said, "Sure, we'd better get to it. Why procrastinate any relay race?" Today was warm and sunny. We headed away from my dining room table, out of the house, into the cemetery, which is our playground now. Of course, we start off with prayer. This proves to the sexton that we mean business, which we certainly do. But then the children race and wiggle. The rule is that they stay off the stones, any mud, and in this way the dead are not annoyed with us. The children attend the normal schools here, but their parents work odd hours and want more training. After their secular seat work is done, the children walk to me or I meet them on the sidewalk and I babysit. I don't like to call it babysitting because I was trained to be a school teacher, and if it wasn't for my scandal, well, I would be more than a babysitter. My training was always to be more. Sometimes we have lessons at their house, and sometimes they come over to my apartment, located in the back of the big house with my family I work for. But they don't always need me, and I promised David, my attorney, I would work hard, and I would repay him, and so I need the money. I am writing you so that my joy will be complete in letting you know everything you already know, dear lady, but it must be passed on. That story of David, my guardian, the attorney selected by Daddy, who did in fact, in truth and in beauty, help carry me through. And yes, they say faith alone will bind us, but some of us put off their work, their calling to compete in that race, not with rats, but in relay. I must relay that message from David. Father was given a wonderful grace in finding him, this Knight of Columbus, who allows me to write for him from time to time. I let David know how I'm progressing and ask him for more money. Sometimes I do get money, but I always get encouragement. Mother, you must remember David in your rounds. He is older now, of course, and complains more, but I believe he still has fight and loves America, which inspires me to handle the children well. And that means I teach them to fight. I teach them to run. This week, David writes to me on official letterhead from his office in Iowa that his daughter, who is clerking for him, she will now attend to my needs, as he now taps out for Florida. The new attorney, her husband, will be too busy to read my letters. I can accept this because of our blessed Queen. I am now practical and simple. However, she won't understand my background well enough to release the money like David did. I will write to her, and I'll tell her my story, because while he is good with the law, he's not good at indulging me for how I want to talk about his goodness. I know David is tired of people, their same sad stories. They're spinning and gnawing on the same fleshy ugliness until they are mushy and rotten. He gets impatient, and he may forget how wonderful he was in detail to gullible people in trouble like me. I will tell his daughter all that I can remember about her father, so that she has sympathy for him and patience when he refuses to go to the doctor, for I know he will. And this story may aid her in softening with him, for there needs to be some softening, otherwise he will stroke out. I will tell his daughter all about my life before I came to Bedford, Indiana, and how David played a hand in that, passing me on like a candle with no wick. But I carried that remnant of hope left in my genes, my own father, into my home, my new boarding and my new family, and finally this makeshift school. I will tell his daughter to be short, for the rates are through the rooftops, and because if anything, David was stoic. He pushed me into reason and work. I have to honor my guardian's wishes properly by staying in the lane of reason and work. Well, thanks to him, I do have work. I have a lane. I have a baton. I will tell his daughter that my father, a Civil War veteran, knew her father, another Civil War veteran, and how they met not on the battlefield, but later at the lodge. It appears my father pulled her father out of something. One of those occasional battles of the mind, I suppose. It was sudden and serious. This he did at some risk to his own life, something to do with a train and a financial panic. I can be vague about this part of the telling. I will tell his daughter that as my father was done dealing with me, he connected with David by way of the Grand Army of the Republic, and he asked David if he could take care of me financially and accept a transfer of wealth, but to keep it hidden. This agreement took place as I packed up my things so that I could be installed somewhere and bolted down. I will tell his daughter that these veterans and friends did this in a way that kept my inheritance hidden. I will tell his daughter how David in letters treated me like a daughter, how her sweetness must have reminded him that I might, in fact, have still yet a tiny bit of potential to be sweet. I always called him my guardian. I will tell his daughter that after I graduated from the orphanage in 1896, I was happy to be teaching in Sioux City, Iowa. I greatly advanced from the books, but even more so by direct attention to the other younger girls there and from the systems, routines that we learned there. It was all discipline, military, and Christian drill with confidence. But still, we had ample time for play on the gorgeous grounds. Like I said, I was happy to be teaching at last in the public schools in Sioux City. But I became frustrated in my inability to be loved because of that one rule that teachers could not be married. It was the rules that hurt my feelings. I will tell his daughter that it was a terrible thing that I never learned to be with boys, and how I miss the men, I still do, and how I let go of all training and reason when I was courted. So, when Arthur overtook me with his romance, he said he understood my private dilemma. We agreed to lie about our marriage and to live separately and to sneak around. My joy, my face, it could not be hidden. A dear friend broke the scandal and turned me dark. Now there were headlines in the newspapers, a force of authorities demanding that I repay my salary for all the time that I was lying and married, but teaching. Finally, after great procrastination and running to and through the levee district of Seattle, Washington, I saw that Arthur got along with me so well because, keeping it a secret. And this way his wife would never find out, and that he aimed to collect a school teacher anyone would do and did, and for my holding of his lie and the next gullible runner taking off with his lie, excited for the heat it held. I would never work again in the public school system because there could be no references. I was ruined, and I was in deep trouble. Arthur was now passing his old sins onto me. I took off running with no scruples, only to run around and look on, just to grab his hand. But he tossed my way not his hand, but his baggage, his filth, how I tripped all over the place for his relay of lies and procrastinations. But I recognized too late his procrastinations because I was the one who invented them. Soon I ran from the law. Then I avoided my father. My father was very angry with me. When I called to beg for money, I did not beg for forgiveness. He said that he could no longer talk to me. He was cutting me off. From now on, I must deal with his attorney because he wanted nothing more to do with me. I understood that my father was going to clobber me if he heard my whining anymore, and for my protection, my father let me experience dryness, fatigue, and the bottom. I called David. He expected my call. I didn't know who this man was. He told me that I would have to do exactly as I was told, follow his rules, or it was cut-off time in the raw. Said that I would be sent to prison at the rate I was going, with no representation. He said I could fight Arthur in the courts and be dragged further into emotionalism, or I could just be someone else. Either way, he would help pay back the debt to relieve pressure, but I would have to work it off in a private arrangement on his terms. And he said something along the lines of getting some decency, in chorus of get thee to a nunnery, something like that. Well, it worked. Yes, someday I will tell his daughter that David found me a new job teaching in Bedford, Indiana. He gave me a new name, Beatrix Kurtz. He told me to just be, and that had a special meaning to it, and it was a short window of opportunity, and to keep it short or else. I told him that my name would even be shorter, just be. He said my job was to be still, sit tight, and make my own money. He made a contract with a young couple I now board with. He told these parents that if I would ever become much trouble, that he would take the train himself down to Bedford. He wouldn't send a messenger or a clerk, but he himself would pick me up in the middle of the night. No legal action, no scandal for the neighbors to see. The exit strategy was solid for them. He would actually pay them for their trouble. And he would pick me up, blindfold me, drop me off in another state, where they had a poor farm. And then he'd ride off, whistling. How could I be any trouble? All my problems were fixed at last. I was going to be, just be. And so I wrote to him often and carefully, and reporting in all seriousness, businesslike manner, my new budget, and I removed emotion, and David kept sending me money. I will mention to his daughter, however, that David could have been more, how do I say this, a brother or a proper uncle to me. If he, come to think of it, he could have done this differently if, when I was introduced to my new family, at least he could have warned me that they were Catholic. This I could not swallow. I suppose, though, I'll have to tell his daughter later, I guess sometime when I can find the right words, how it came to be that it was only a few weeks after I got there that I misplaced one of their children in my care. A lost child. The screaming, the train, and the panic. And how David was not called. How the family did not call David. For now I hear the little ones at my door, ready for another victory lap in our ancient games. That's enough. Now, dear Mother, Holy Mother, pray for us. Cause of our joy, pray for us.